So this is part 2 of the seated arbour and me showing you how I'm going about it. It's looking good, I think. Done quite a bit since the last video. So I'll just go through it a little bit and explain what I've done. I had some floorboarding, which I've had for ages in the garage. In fact, it was supposed to be used on a door that it never got used on. So it's been sat there, so I thought this is the ideal use for it. Now, it's been put there really as a liner to the inside, because when you sat in here, when you sat there, I don't really want to be looking up at a mess. So that's what I did. But on top of it, we're going to have, and at the moment, we can show you on top of that. At the moment, this is what it is at the moment. That will have a tin roof on top. It's not going to remain like that. It will be a tin roof. So on the front, I've put that, well, I call that, most people call that a barge board. And that's just to disguise the tin that will be sat on top. I've added this little feature here as well, which I'd actually drawn on my original little sketch that I did, a tiny little sketch I did. And although nothing spectacular, I think it just serves the purpose. It just tidies up that little area. It looks a bit different. Now, I'm using different types of wood at the moment, as you can see. We've got 1, 2, 3 different types of wood at the moment. I will unify that in time with the stain that I've got, and we'll stain the whole thing eventually, make it all look the same. So on the sides, we are going to be using the gravel board, as I said. That's what we shall be using. I've not got any yet. I haven't bought it yet. I bought a couple of pieces just as a tester. But as of yet, that's not been bought. So that will be the next phase. The next phase will be dressing all of the sides and the back. Now, I've decided since talking on the last video that what I shall do is I shall definitely put this board on here. So it'll sit on the outside. Then on the inside, it'll actually sit on this section. So it will sit inside. Whereas on the side bits, it won't. It will be on the outside of it. And that will add interest. And one thing it will do, because we will be leaving these little bits here, that'll give us an opportunity to put cups of tea on there and little bits and bobs. So as you probably noticed, I've got a stained glass panel there. That stained glass we've used in the house. Hanging it up, we hung it up on chains. And it's basically a top sash. And I love it. I absolutely love these. These are the types of sashes that got me into stained glass many years ago, that I used to admire. And this is likely to be from, I'd say, about an house about mid-30s, if not a little bit later 40s. And this is the type they would have. And it is a traditional piece. It is white at the moment. I can't decide whether I'm going to paint that frame a different colour to blend in more with whatever tone I choose to use on the rest of the wood, but we shall decide that as we go along. Now on this side, I've not yet put that side piece on. So as you can see, that piece is overhanging, just waiting to take the side piece. So I'll show you again on top. So you can see over there, that's where the tin will butt up to. That should look quite nice. Well, it won't actually. The only place that's going to look nice from is on the roadside. But I did want it to look nice at the back as well. I don't make things that's got a rough side. Not really, anyway. I don't like that. I like everything on it to be looking nice. So it's looking nice. It's standing well. And it took a little bit of manipulation, that. Because when you're working on your own, you can't hold two ends of a piece of wood. So you have to come up with very ingenious ideas on how to do that. And that's what I had to do, and it was driving me crazy, to be honest, because I was up and down the ladders, screwing pieces on and then climbing back up on the other side of it and screwing the other side on and leveling it. So it is hard. So if you do attempt this, I'll strongly suggest that you do get a bit of help, because it really is a two-man job when you're putting up these structures. But as you know, I've got no one really to help me. Kathy's not into all this. So she doesn't help me. Only if I really struggle will she come out and just give us a lift up or whatever. So there you go. Now I've used lots of screws on this, especially on the top tonight, to screw that down. We've had to screw that down quite tightly against these woods here, these pieces of wood here, these fins. We've had to screw every one, because if we don't, what we'll get is we'll end up with gaps. And big gaps. So we haven't got that at the moment. Don't forget, wood expands and contracts again throughout the year, so you have to be very mindful of that. Be prepared for it, but don't let it worry you. From the side, looks like that. So that's quite nice, that. And it looks great from up at the house. And I'm in quite a hurry now to actually get this cladded up with the rest of the wood. Now, I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to leave this little section open. It's not a cop-out. I can easily clad that, should I wish. But I rather fancy having those left open and on both sides, just as a little twist to it. And I may put some type of a mesh in there. I've got one or two bits of mesh around that I could use, and if I've got enough, I'll probably attempt to cut those to slot them in there. But as of yet, I don't know. Now that back section there, you won't see that eventually. Sorry if I'm walking around a bit. It's, as I say, not easy doing this on your own. What I shall do is we shall put this piece of board up. So the barge boards or the gravel boards will sit up to there, so you won't see any of that gap whatsoever. And obviously I've got to tie them into this bit here, and they'll look good there. So, well, what I'm trying to say is that's basically what it's got to look like that. So I've pinned those into there, and a bit of cutting had to be done. Don't forget, this is leaning backwards. It's got a 10-degree lean on it to give it that nice look, and it's just got that lovely little overhang that like I've got on the shack. So you can see it's quite obviously like the shack, and it's there to sort of like marry up to the shack really, because the shack can be seen from here, as you can see down there. That can be seen, and this is like a mini me, I guess, of the shack, but with a little bit more feature about it, because it being so small, it looks a lot nicer. Now I ended up putting 3 of these fins on here on the roof, because we have to pin that woodwork to something, and it would be way better to have that like that, because if you have that too wide, if I'd have left that section there and just that section there, that wood would likely have bent and warped. So I've put that, they're probably 2 foot apart, which is about ideal. So I can't do any more now until we get the weatherboard, and it's not that expensive. Up to now I've spent about 60 quid on the wood at the moment. The one thing I did do actually was I pinched this scaffold board. This was actually a scaffold board. It was Kathy's, she had it as a shelf, but I took it and cut it up. And I never told her until I'd done the deed. But it's a lot better, you see, it's got a lot more depth there. So this is what it's all about. It's all about giving the thing depth as well, and giving it interest, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to give it interest. Like that little bit there, that's just a little bit of interest for it. Like I say, the unifying pull together will be when we add the stain colour to it all. But that's a way off yet, and at least another video away. So there you go. Any questions, fire away. If I can answer them, I will. Don't forget, I'm not a professional joiner. I'm a gardener really, and an artist. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Ta-da.